Warning, the video you're about to watch contains mathematics at the level of college algebra and trigonometry. All material has an assumed prerequisite of both Algebra 1, which is elementary algebra, and Algebra 2, which is intermediate algebra. While some prerequisite topics are reviewed briefly, a more thorough review of these entrance topics can be found by searching the web.
It's the system of equations. We must deal with them all at once. Always looking for solutions. Positive outlook overcome.
Hello, my name is Roy Simpson, professor of mathematics at Cosumnes River College in Sacramento, California. This video is a review for Precalculus students about piecewise-defined functions. And I really only have one single example. If you're a student in one of my classes, you probably have the text for this example. However, I decided to go against that text just because that leads to a very long and drawn out video, and I kind of want to keep this a little bit short. You should already know what a piecewise-defined function is. For example, a very famous piecewise-defined function is the absolute value function. If x is not negative, then you didn't need the absolute value signs and it would just return x. If on the other hand, x is negative, then the absolute value returns the opposite of that x. So that's an example of a piecewise-defined function. It's a function with several sub-functions, and it takes on one of those functions just depending upon domain. But really what I want to talk about is an application involving piecewise-defined functions. Turns out that in the United States, our marginal tax system, or our tax system, is a piecewise-defined function. It works not exactly, but sort of like this. You pay 0% of each dollar you earn in taxes for the first $10,000 you earn. Now again, this is not exactly our tax system. If you want to find out the actual piecewise-defined function, you can go to the irs.gov website and look for the tax tables. They actually provide you the piecewise-defined function. You then pay 15% of each dollar that you earn over $10,000, and that's all the way up to $25,000. So for example, if you made $10,001, you'd pay 0% taxes on the first $10,000 and then 15% of the extra additional dollar you earned beyond $10,000. So you'd pay 15 cents in tax. Now again, let me just repeat, this is not exactly our tax system, but actually somewhat close. And then let's pretend you pay 20% on each dollar you earn above $25,000 up to $35,000. And let's pretend that you had to pay 25% of each dollar that you earn above $35,000 and all the way up to $100,000, and we'll stop at $100,000. So in other words, we'll just cap it out and say that you pay 30% on every dollar you earn beyond $100,000. So the point here is to create a piecewise-defined function that represents the amount you should owe in taxes. So I'll name our function t of x, which is the amount you owe in taxes, where x is the amount you have earned. And that amount, x, will be gross income. In other words, the amount of money you've earned prior to paying taxes or anything else. Now, the number of categories will match the number of categories here. We have one category for when you have basically no income up to $10,000. You have a second category, a third, a fourth, and then a fifth. So this will be a 5-piece piecewise-defined function. In fact, it's probably best that I not end my bracket because I might need a lot of room there. So let's think about this. If you earn between $0 and $10,000, right there, how much would you owe in taxes? Well, according to this fake situation, you will pay 0% of each dollar, so you owe nothing. So that's the first function if the input is between 0 and 10,000. However, the next function will be defined if your income was between 10,000 and 25,000. Notice how I'm deciding to write my boundaries here, or my domain restrictions, is that x is going to be in the number of dollars above, strictly above 10,000, but less than or equal to 25,000. And I'm going to set up the mindset that we're going to use for future lines by including how much we paid in taxes from the previous bracket. So how much did we pay in taxes from our first $10,000? Well, 0. And then I'm going to add to that, well, we are paying 15% of each dollar earned over 10,000. So that would be 15,000, and a lot of people, 15% times, and a lot of people would write X there. They think it's 15% of X, but that's not true. If you earn $20,000, then you're definitely looking at this category or this line, if you will. However, you're not paying 15% on all $20,000. You're paying 15% on 20,000 minus 10, because the first $10,000 you don't get taxed on. So if you take a look at how I've written that, imagine that you earned $17,000. Of these two categories, first or second, two sub functions, you will belong to this sub function because you earned gross 17,000. So you should only pay 15% of every dollar beyond the first 10,000. Let's see if this works out. You're going to pay 0 plus 15% of 17,000 minus 10,000, which is only going to be a $7,000 tax liability, and 15% of $7,000 is, what is that, 700 plus 350, $1,050. So that does work out. Now let's move on to the next line, the third line. The domain restriction there is $25,000 to $35,000. So if our income is between $25,000 and $35,000, then, well, how much did we pay for the first 10,000? 0, right? And how much will we have paid? Because remember, we have actually surpassed the $25,000 mark. So the question is, how much did we pay in taxes for all of this money between $10,000 and $25,000? The way you would figure that out is, well, I know I made it up to 25,000, so the amount that I would have paid at that level would be, and let me use the right ink. So the amount you would have paid is 15% of that 25,000 minus 10,000, or extra $15,000 that you had at level 2. So you're paying 15% of $15,000. And that actually, that will be static. So we could just say that's going to cost us $2,250 off the top. And then plus some percentage of every dollar that we earn above $25,000 all the way up to $35,000. Well, the percentage is going to be 20%. We're in the 20% tax bracket at the moment. So it'll be 20% of every dollar earned above the $25,000 mark. So if we made, let's just pretend 30 grand, it would be 30 minus 25, or $5,000 that we have earned at the 20% level. So it'll be whatever our current salary is minus $25,000. Now, obviously I don't need the zeros there. I'm just showing that each time that we move forward, we're adding the previous level's information in there. The fourth level is the 25% tax bracket, and that goes from $35,000 a year to $100,000 a year. Now again, we enter into this tax bracket already having paid a chunk of money for all the previous tax brackets. For example, for our first $10,000 earned, we pay 0. For the next $15,000 earned between $10,000 and $25,000, we will have paid $2,250. And because we're earning so much money, we have actually earned $10,000 in the next tax bracket, which was the 20% tax bracket. So what is 20% of that $10,000? Well, that's an extra $2,000 that we pay in that tax bracket. And then finally, our current tax bracket, which is a 25% tax bracket, we're going to pay that 25% on every dollar above $35,000. Obviously, again, these numbers can compress, right? There's no reason for me to write 0. There's no reason for me to write 2250 plus 2000. I could write that as 4250. But I'm choosing to showcase via color where this information is coming from. The final bracket is if our income is greater than 100,000. Now, once you step into that tax bracket, you will have already paid $0 for having your first $10,000, and you will have already paid $2,250 for all the money you earn between $10,000 and $25,000. You will also already have paid $2,000 for all the money you earned between $25,000 and $35,000. And now we have to compute how much money did we earn at the 25% level. We're earning above $100,000, so it looks to me like $65,000 were earned at the 25% level. And 25% times $65,000 is $16,250 at that level. And now we just include one more plus for this last tax bracket, which is a 30% bracket, and it's for every dollar above $100,000 that we earn. And this is the piecewise-defined function for our fictitious tax system. Although, to be honest with you, the US tax system has a very similar build to its tax tables. In fact, I just looked it up, and we can erase all this. Now, I'm not going to actually do it all, but I'm going to present it to you so that you can figure it out. You could actually do your taxes this way. So for the 2020 filing in 2021, if you're single, you actually pay 10% on every dollar earned between $0 and $9,875. So it's 10% of X if you earn any amount between $0 and $9,875. Then you take whatever value that is. Let's say you're earning greater than $9,875 but less than $40,125. You take the maximum amount you would have paid in the previous tax bracket, which would be $987.50, and you're going to add to that, and that next tax bracket is 12% tax bracket. So 12% of the amount you earned over $9,875. And you can just Google the tax brackets. I'll actually just off to the left-hand side write the percentages. Actually, maybe I'll write it closer to the right-hand side. So this is a 10% tax bracket. There's a 12% bracket. And there you go. Those are all the percentages. So you could build our tax table system, find out how much you're supposed to pay in federal taxes using this piecewise-defined function. A great use of piecewise-defined functions. By the way, these percentages are not terrible. There have been years in the past where the tax brackets have gotten up to 80% and higher. So just to let you know, that sliding scale gets really weird when you get up to high earning potential. Anyhow, I just want to use this video to show you how to build a piecewise-defined function and to take a few moments to kind of review piecewise-defined functions. The big trick to them, really, if you have a whole bunch of them in a row and it's something like this, is to be very careful about the fact that you're including previous information when you build the next line. So be very, very careful about that. All right, I don't know if this video was terribly helpful, to be honest with you, but I enjoy this topic, so I hope you enjoyed it as well.
It's the system of equations. We must deal with them all at once. Always looking for solutions. Positive outlook overcomes obstacles getting in our way. Cause affects more than we can sometimes see. Things for what they are and work together until you feel at peace. Says, listen close. Don't talk too much that isn't kosher. You may really hurt inside. It doesn't justify you to speak too loud and cry.